made a lot of mistakes in my 20s. So in this video, I'm gonna talk about the 6 biggest mistakes so you don't waste your 20s. I'm gonna open up about personal experiences and really bring you a little bit more into my life so really you can learn from my lessons. So if you're someone who's about to be 20, you're in your 20s, this video is gonna be really helpful for you, and I'm hoping that you can learn from my mistakes so you can find a little bit more purpose and have a little bit more direction in your life. So let's go ahead and talk about my very first mistake, and that's focusing on the wrong things. Now, your 20s is a time where you get to have a lot of fun. You get to try new things, you get to experiment, you get to really figure out what direction you want your life to go. And for me, I didn't really focus on the right points of my life that really led me in that direction. Instead, I was so focused on, getting through my work week, getting through my job just so I can go party on the weekends, right? It was all about, where can I find the girls? Where can I find the booze? And I really missed out on an opportunity to learn a little bit more about who I am, to learn a little bit more about, improving my happiness, my fulfillment, learning what things I enjoy to do in life, right? Your 20s is a unique thing because you get to take some chances, you get to try things where if it doesn't go the right way, it's totally fine. You have so much time to make up for it. But when you get into your 30s and 40s, you're getting closer to buying a home, starting a family, looking at retirement. You have less and less time to make these mistakes and focus on things that maybe you can course correct and not have a lot of negative impact on. But instead of my 20s, I didn't experiment and try any of these things. I didn't try to find things I was passionate about. I didn't try, side hustles. I didn't try career paths. I really was just taking whatever job I could, and I was like a zombie through the work week. I'm just trying to get through that work week so I can just go party with my friends. And that's where a lot of my focus was. And that really impacted me and caused a lot of the additional mistakes we're going to talk about in here. But by the time I was leaving my 20s, I found that I didn't really have anything I was passionate about or anything I was striving for. So my life was really left without a lot of purpose and a lot of fulfillment. So really looking back on it, I wish I could, write down a list of all the things I was really passionate about or things I really wanted to try and hyper focus on that and just not worry so much about, partying and doing all those sort of things. That's fun on occasion, absolutely. Like, don't get me wrong, I still love to go out and have drinks with friends, but I think it just would have been so much more fulfilled. I wouldn't want to drink as much if I was out, chasing and learning things that I'm absolutely passionate about that I knew could potentially be something that brings a lot of joy and happiness in my life for years and years to come. So my second big mistake in my 20s was not taking care of my health. Now, someone who knows me is gonna listen to this and be like, what are you talking about? You were always in really good shape in your 20s. Now, there's a lot more to being in shape, right? So I was a college athlete and then I worked at a gym for 5 years. So I exercised a lot. I just lifted a lot of weights, right? And if you were looking at me from the outside, you would think, wow, he's in really, really good shape. But there were so many things I did lacking in my health that I'm really already feeling it in my 30s. And one was just having really poor nutrition. So, because I was working out so much, I could literally eat whatever I wanted and it wouldn't affect me, at least physically. Now, as I get older, I'm realizing, eating all this pizza and eating all these like massive calorie bomb meals with tons of unhealthy fats and, all this stuff, it's really playing a big role later on in my life where there's more than just the outside. You need to take care of the inside of your body, and the nutrients that you put in your body are, equally as important. And along with that, lifting weights and not really worrying about my joints or not really working on flexibility has left me with some really painful joint pain later on. So it's like, even though I was doing a good thing, because it wasn't balanced and because I wasn't, working on flexibility and mobility, I really kind of almost hurt myself later on in life. So while I still lift weights, I don't just like power lift for everything. I actually lift with a purpose now. And I wish I kind of did that early on in my 20s. And another huge thing that a lot of people don't talk about is, sure, I could have done a lot more for my physical health, but I'm also talking about my mental health as well. So, when I was so busy just going out partying and being a zombie through the work week, I never really challenged myself mentally. I never challenge myself to learn new skills or to, become great at anything or solve problems. Your mind is a muscle as well, and that requires training, and that requires you to like build it and develop it so later on in life you can depend on it more and more. And that was something drastically missing in my life. So I really wish not only just my body, my nutrients, my joints, my mobility, but I really wish I also focused on creating a healthy mind early on in my 20s as well, when honestly, I think all I did was just abuse my mind in my 20s. So definitely think of your mind as a part of your body that you need to train and you really need to take care of. So mistake number 3, this is going to get a little bit personal, and that is not listening to who you really are, right? So I think this kind of goes back to me growing up. I grew up in a pretty poor neighborhood. There was gang violence. There was definitely a lot of crime where I was at. And I noticed that I would put on this show to be popular, to be liked. And I did it probably at first for safety, so no one wants to hurt the popular kid, the fun person who gets along with everyone. But as we moved out of those neighborhoods, I noticed that maybe it was the endorphin kicks, maybe it was just at this point I was so used to it, but I really wanted everyone to accept me. And the way I would do that is I would put on a show. Sometimes, I would embellish things that just wouldn't be who I was, or have stories that weren't necessarily true about who I was. And I would put on these lies and put on these shows for people to try and accept me. And I think this is really important because I think a lot of kids, especially in their teens and their 20s, go through this. And it's important to take a step back and really find out who you are as an individual, right? And the reason why is because if you're living this lie and every person you meet, it knows this lie, you have to remember that lie. And it's exhausting, right? You can't keep up living a lie where everyone thinks you're one thing, but you're really another. And deep down, you just want to be yourself, right? So you're trapped under these layers of lies and you can never really flourish and be yourself and really follow the passions that you enjoy and be around the people you want to be around. So I'd really encourage you to find what's important to you, find what you're passionate about, find what matters, figure out your values, and feel free to be who you are around people. Guess what? If someone doesn't like you for who you are, they're doing you a favor because they're not someone who's going to be around in your life or bring fulfillment or happiness in your life long term. Instead, if you find out who you are and you are genuinely a good person, you're going to surround yourself with good people who have similar interests and similar values as you. You're going to find a lot more fulfillment in life. You're going to be able to go a lot further in life because you can actually start working on yourself because now you know who you are. It's hard to build and improve yourself if it's really a shell, if it's a lie, if it's kind of a fake persona. But once you're actually who you are and you can take a good look at who you are and what you want to become, it's much easier to build and work on yourself in all aspects of your life, and you're just going to be a lot happier overall. Let's talk about mistake number 4, and that's not valuing yourself enough. This is a really difficult topic for me to talk about because, I grew up in a single parent household. My dad worked really hard. He was a mechanic. He worked crazy hours, but we were always just barely getting by. It was like we're chasing our tails and we're living paycheck to paycheck. And it was very difficult growing up. And I knew I didn't want, I struggled with the fact that I was the kid that couldn't pay for his school photos every year or the yearbook, or, if I wanted to go to basketball camps or football camps, I had to go do yard work for the coach for 2 weeks to be able to afford, for them to pay to have me along. It was a very challenging time growing up without money, right? I know a lot of us have been there. I'm not the only one. But where I started to get most of the struggle was when I was graduating high school. I told my dad that I wanted to become a lawyer or a doctor. I had these big ambitious goals, and he sat down and he told me, I still remember the conversation. He basically said, people that get into schools, law schools, medical schools, they're not for people like us. They're not from families like us. You need to have money. You need to have connections, power. It's just not for us. That lifestyle is not for us. And while I knew that wasn't necessarily true, I did use that as a crutch throughout life. So anytime I didn't get a good job, anytime I didn't do good at something, or anytime I'm, not making good money, I said, of course I didn't get that job. I don't deserve to be here. Of course I, wasn't good enough to finish college. I don't deserve to be there. So all the difficult things in my life, I used that excuse as a crutch. It was really tough. And what that did ultimately was just devalue valued myself tremendously. I would literally just try to get any job until I hated it. I would quit it, and then I would just get any job. I had no value. I was always working minimum wage. I was always chasing bills and always chasing my tail, and it was very challenging. And it wasn't until like the very end of my 20s where I finally had enough of it, and I decided that I was going to chase my dreams no matter what, and I was not going to use any excuses anymore. And that's when I kind of went back to school and finally got a degree. Late in my 20s, I was like 30 years old when I went back to college for a second time, and I ended up doing really well. And I was going to go to dental school, which I ended up not going to last minute. That's a whole different story, but it was a great lesson for me in life to realize I was capable of doing anything this whole time. I just had brainwashed myself that I didn't deserve to have value in life. And I think a lot of people are going to struggle with this. Anytime something doesn't go well or in their favor, they either play victim or they just don't think that they are not capable of accomplishing these things. And as a result, you're going to make decisions that align with your low self-esteem and low volume. And you're never really going to elevate in life. You're never, it's going to be much difficult to get good jobs or pursue, dreams or passions of yours that you have because you just don't feel you're worthy of reaching them. So take a step back, realize that, anything you set your mind to, you can give it a great effort. Always give something a great effort. Don't just give up the first time it gets hard. Definitely pursue it because you are way more capable than you probably give yourself credit for. So mistake number 5 is something that's still affecting me in my 30s, and that's not investing sooner. Now, to be fair, never once in elementary school, middle school, high school, college, did anyone ever mention a Roth IRA or a stock market portfolio, right? Like, these are things that no one taught me, and it's very frustrating. And I didn't have parents or close family members that really invested at all. So it wasn't aware to me as a kid. And compounding interest is crazy powerful. And when you look at someone like Warren Buffett, who claims most of his success as compounding interest. In fact, Warren Buffett even says that compound interest is considered to be the 8th wonder of the world, right? That's how powerful it is. And all that really means is if you invest money early on and you're earning a percentage year in, year out, it actually compounds on itself and it tends to grow exponentially. So if you're someone who's investing into a Roth IRA when you're 18 years old, you really only have to put about $100 a month in there for you to guarantee that you're going to retire as a multi-millionaire. That's absolutely insane. And with a Roth IRA, you can actually pull out all that money you earn, you can pull it out tax-free, which is really cool. Things I wish I knew, because now that I'm in my 30s and I'm playing catch up, well, guess what? There's a cap on how much money you can put into a Roth IRA, and it's, around $6,000 per year. So that's $6,000 per year in my 20s. Every single year, I could have been building that up, getting compounding interest, and putting myself in a much better position for when I'm ready to retire. And not to mention learning how to invest in real estate versus just always being a renter. Maybe I could have invested into tiny little condo or apartment, right? Like if I actually bought a piece of real estate in Seattle when I was in my 20s, wow, that it would be worth so much money now, because entering the market, the real estate market in my 30s, it's crazy how much more expensive property is now. And if I would have just invested early on, I'd be so far ahead when it comes to real estate and overall building wealth, right? This is how you get generational wealth, and it starts early. And that's one thing, I just wish I knew. So hopefully this is a little reminder for you to go out and do a little research. You have amazing tools like YouTube and the internet now, where you have all this information for you to learn from. And, if you don't have parents or if you don't have teachers really educating you on this stuff, definitely do a little research and learn how to at least open up a Roth IRA and start investing sooner rather than later. Now, my last mistake, number 6, and this is really, really important for you guys, and that is enjoy the ride. Okay, so in your 20s, you have one goal only. That's to find meaning for the rest of your life, whether it's pursuing a career, finding the things that make you happy, finding your partner in life, pursuing traveling the world, experiencing cultures, experiencing people in general, right? You get to find the joys in life, and it's important to enjoy the ride. I said early on in this video, a lot of the jobs I worked at, I was a zombie. I checked out during the week, and for me just to go party and get drunk on the weekends, that, while yes, it's fun to party every once in a while, I still go out and have drinks with friends, right? I have a business literally built around making cocktails. I was a bartender for a long time. That is fun, but that's not meaningful. What's meaningful is enjoying the ride, finding the beauty in life. You have this amazing opportunity in your 20s to take chances, to try new things, to travel the world, right? To put your hand in a career that probably makes no sense. But you know what? If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. That's fine. You're gonna have awesome experiences. Just remember to sit back, enjoy the ride, and don't take for granted just the beauty of life and the beauty of the people around you. This is something I'm definitely doing and focusing a lot more now that I'm in my 30s, especially now that I have my very first child, which is super exciting. You tend to notice the beauty in the things in life and just take a step back, because life, guess what? Life will never slow down. Life will always be hectic. You'll always be chasing that next thing. You'll never fully be satisfied where you're at, but it's totally okay to just take a step back, enjoy where you're at, and just be happy that, you know, you're here on this beautiful planet surrounded by beautiful people, and enjoy the moment and enjoy the journey. Because you know what? Journeys are difficult. And when you look at people who have success, whether it's money success or family success, relationship success, they all kind of like to go back and rehash the journey. That's when things were beautiful and scrappy and fun. So definitely enjoy the moment and have fun in your 20s, and try and find meaning and fulfillment in your life. So hopefully that was entertaining, learning a lot of my big mistakes in my 20s, but hopefully it was valuable and you learned a lot of valuable lessons in this video. And I want to know, if you're in your 20s, if you have questions about anything, feel free to put them in the comments. And for all of you that have struggled and corrected in your 20s, what mistakes did you make? Definitely pitch in the comments below. I would love to just get a pretty awesome conversation going, since I think the 20s are such an important part of our life. Absolutely. So comment below and we can continue to share our knowledge with each other. Now, if you guys are looking to start a side hustle or make some additional revenue while you're in your 20s, be sure to check out this video right here. We'll actually break down some awesome side hustles for 2023. Don't worry, I'm not selling you any courses. I'll walk you through all these step by step. So be sure to check out that video and we'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.